Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Wednesday, May the 6th, 2015. This is my blog on the 12 steps. On step 1, and I entitle it Powerlessness and Unmanageability. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Just letting you know, I don't speak for any 12-step fellowship. I don't. I'm. I'm just a person saying my opinion and my little advice, my blog, and that's it. As a friend of in my church would say, that's it. Anyway, that's my disclaimer. I don't speak for anyone. I don't speak for any 12-step fellowship at all. Just me. Anyway, powerlessness and unmanageability. Webster's dictionary defines powerlessness as lack of power. Now, any admitted alcoholic or addict knows all too well about our lack of power. Now, there are some ill-knowledge people in the world that say all we have to do to stop drinking is put some willpower behind it. Well, for an alcoholic or addict, or whatever the case may be, our willpower has run riot. We have no willpower at all. It's not a sin, it's a disease. Dis-ease. Abnormal reaction. It's an allergy. Alcoholism is allergy, so to speak. It's an abnormal reaction to a substance. And believe me, we addicts and alcoholics have had abnormal reactions quite severely. Being powerlessness is something you have no control over what you are doing. For example, take me when I was an alcoholic. I drank until I blacked out. I did some embarrassing stuff while I was blacked out. And I wasn't a happy sight. And any alcoholic or addict will tell you that they've done horrific things. They've had no power, no willpower. It's gone. But when you're practicing, it's hard to admit that. I remember when I was a practicing alcoholic, we joked around the bar, saying, yeah, we're alcoholics, therefore we can drink. That gave an excuse to drink or drug or whatever the case may be. Gambling, if you're a sex addict, it'd be sex, drugs, or alcohol. You name your addiction and put it in place of alcohol. I'm going to be talking from now on with the word alcoholic because I'm most comfortable with that. That was my drug of choice. But you put your addiction in place of that word, and we will all come out at the same place. Hopefully, the road to recovery. Unmanageability. If you've lost, maybe you went through a couple of jobs. Maybe you lost your kids or your wife, your jobs. You hurt your parents. And unmanageability doesn't just involve material things, it could be spiritual things. You may have shame and guilt in your life that it seems not very manageable. And you'll feel like life is not worth living. Well, that's unmanageability. So you have to take the first step. Now, before I continue, let me read a story in the Bible. It's about having power or no power. This is a story of the pilot with Jesus. And I'm reading from the Message. So the word power in here is named authority. Well, authority, powers, greater powers that be, greater authorities that be. So I'm going to change the word they have here, authority, to power. So it makes more sense to you. I'm reading from John chapter 19, starting at verse 1. So Pilate took Jesus and had him whipped. The soldiers, having braided a crown from thorns, set it on his head, threw a purple robe over him, and approached him with, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Then they greeted him with slaps in the face. Pilate went back out again and said to them, "I present him to you, but I want you to know that I don't find him guilty of any crime." Just then, Jesus came out wearing the thorn crown and purple robe. Pilate announced, "Here he is, the man." When the high priest and police saw him, they shouted in a frenzy, "Crucify, crucify." Pilate told them, "You take him, you crucify him. I find nothing wrong with him." The Jews answered, "We have a law, and by that law he must die, because he claimed to be the Son of God." When Pilate heard this, he became even more scared. He went back into the palace and said to Jesus, "Where did you come from?" Jesus gave no answer. Pilate said, "You won't talk? Don't you know that I have the power to pardon you and the power to crucify you?" Jesus said, "You haven't a shred of power over me, except what has been given you from heaven. That's why the one who betrayed me to you has committed a far greater fault." Now, he is referring to Judas Iscariot. Now, speaking about power, who has the power? See, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. There comes a point in the alcoholic's life when he starts the road to recovery, when he's admitted that he's powerless and that his life is unmanageable. There comes a point in his life where he's going to say, well, there must be someone that has a greater power than me to arrest the disease, to help me recover. And with that, next week, we're going to start with step 2 and 3. I'm going to combine 2 and 3 because I think it flows. Step 2 says, came to believe that the power greater than ourselves, which I choose to be Jesus, it's Jesus and Holy Spirit, came to believe that Jesus could restore us to sanity. Then number 3 is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. And with that, I'm going to, I've made a decision in this blog. There's a great little book. If you give me 1 second, you won't see me for a second, then you will see me. And there's a great little book. It's a devotional book that I've been reading almost every day so far, the month of March. It speaks to the heart. It really speaks to the heart. It's called Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. Now, I hope I have Sarah Young's permission to read through this book. I find it awesome. The words, every time I've read that, it has spoke to me. Actually, those words that are in those books, in that book, Jesus Calling, she received from Jesus. She received from the Lord, and she wrote them down as her daily devotion. But she wanted to share this in the world because she realized that it may speak to someone else, and believe me, it has. Every time I picked that up on that day, on the particular day of the reading, man, it speaks volumes. So I'm going to just whip out onto the screen for a minute and come back and get that book. So here I am. I'm getting my book. It's called Jesus Calling, and I find it so incredible. I mean, so incredible. So if ever you're in a Christian bookstore, catch the fire at the airport. I used to sell this book. I don't know if they still do. It's called Jesus Calling by Sarah Young. And we're going to read this. And after my 12-week blog on the 12 steps, we're going to continue this until a full year has gone by. Anyway, this is the devotion for May the 6th from Jesus Calling. Here it is. Do not, this is kind of funny since I'm a security guard. Well, anyway, May the 6th. Do not search for security in the world you inhabit. You tend to make mental checklists of things you need to do in order to gain control of your life. If only you could check everything off your list, you could relax and be at peace. But the more you work to accomplish that goal, the more things crop up on your list. The harder you try, the more frustrated you become. There is a better way to find security in this life. Instead of scrutinizing your checklist, focus your attention on my presence with you. This continual contact with me will keep you in my peace. Moreover, I will help you sort out what is important and what is not, what needs to be done now and what does not. Fix your eyes not on what is seen, your circumstances, but on what is unseen, my presence. Oh, until, well, I'm going to continue the blog tomorrow, actually, to go through this book. But next week, I'm going to be doing a blog on steps 2 and 3, along with whatever date we end up in this book. So tomorrow it will be the reading from Jesus Calling from May the 7th. But next week, next Wednesday, it will be the blog on step 2 and step 3. And until next time, as my friend in church would say, that's it. Bye-bye.